All right, so we'll go ahead and begin. And you speak. Somebody else? All right, great. Fun, huh? You guys didn't realize we've been busy running around the world putting Braniff posters up everywhere. Good evening. My name is Colin Ice, and first off, just put it out there. Happy birthday, Braniff International. Woo! You've all been traditionally blessed by having David Preciosi, who is the Director of Preservation Dallas, lead our events. David is traveling this evening for work, so he couldn't be here, so I'm going to attempt to fill his shoes. On this day 90 years ago, a small 5-passenger Stinson Detroiter, single-engine airliner departed Oklahoma City for a nonstop flight to Tulsa, only 116 miles from here. With the short flight commanded by Braniff Airways co-founder Paul Revere Braniff, an airline empire was born that would grow from a small route to a global system that came within 4,000 miles of circling the Earth. I'd like to begin by recognizing some of our special guests. First, the Braniff Airways Foundation Board of Directors. So with us tonight we have Ben Cass. Myself, Colin Ice. We have Gus Bluer with us. Gus is in the back. Rudy Bowling is with us in the front. As well as Nelda Ireland. Romney, there you are, Romney in the back corner. Jack, where's Jack? There's Jack Witherspoon. Jack. Deborah Sutton, Debbie. There you are. I didn't see you. Hi, Deborah. Not able to attend, of course, David Preciosi and Paul Oak Group. So thank you all. I also want to recognize our special guest tonight, Don Maynard, Captain of Braniff International. Is Don here tonight? There's Don. Helen Adair, are you with us this evening? There she is. Hi, Helen. Bob Culp, were you able to make it tonight? There you are. Hi, Bob. Donald Sorensen, Braniff Staff Vice President, Administration, Properties, Facilities. Donald, you with us? Hello, sir. Thanks for being here. Mary Crawford Pearson, Executive Secretary. There she is. Hi, Mary. Always, we have the famous Elizabeth Shepard with us that I believe everyone knows in the back corner, keeping the legacy going. And Lauren McCollum. Lauren with us?
Yes.
There you are. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for joining us. And we have a big cast that helped put us on tonight, so I just wanted to read out real quickly everybody that's here tonight to help us do the event. We'll see you all later, but we have Yvonne Crum with us, Karen Aubrey, Dorcas Taylor, Val couldn't make it, but Val Pilburn, who's been a big part of our planning, Mr. Michael Braniff, Mike, Claudia Bevel, Kathy Logan Smith, and Mr. Gene White. Thanks for being here and helping us put all this together. So I've gone way faster than these. Go ahead. Keep going. We've got up to our special proclamations for this evening.
Baggage handling is a very important part of running an airline. We at Braniff are always checking to make sure things go smoothly. This week I'm sending myself to St. Louis. The idea is always to keep the baggage ahead of the passengers. But we never treat the baggage like baggage. We're fast, but gentle. Gentle? Now, this is the most boring part of my job. Let's face it, in here, we're not a suitcase, there just aren't any things. The whole stretch. This year, we've cut our average delivery time from 9 minutes to a breathtaking 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Possibly a new world's record. Gee, I wonder if Cookie the guy is supposed to pick me up.
That one's always a fan favorite. Okay. Braniff Airways Foundation has received a very special announcement from the City of Dallas Mayor Michael Rawlings. The mayor was very happy to hear Braniff would be celebrating its 90th birthday with us as Dallas's hometown original airline. He wanted to ensure that this day was special in all the hearts of Dallas citizens by bestowing a mayoral proclamation declaring June 20th, 2018 as Braniff Airways Day in the City of Dallas.
Wow.
As well, our great friends at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport Board have presented us with a special proclamation. Former board chairman and former Braniff Vice President Sam Coates has also written us a kind letter to honor Braniff's 90th year. Thank you all to the mayor, to Mr. Coates, and to the airport board.
This is the flight deck. Ready to start engines.
Buenos días, damas y caballeros. Bienvenidos a bordo del Dorado Superjet con destino a Sudamérica.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you aboard Braniff International Airways El Dorado Superjet flight.
No matter what the voice, a friendly greeting awaits you when you enter a plane of Braniff International Airways for your trip. It may be from Dallas to New York, or Houston to Chicago, or, as in this instance, from New York to Rio De Janeiro, with a few days spent in Lima, Peru. Such was the case when the lovely Hollywood star, Dorothy Malone, decided to make her journey by way of Braniff.
It all began when I decided on a South American vacation. Braniff, of course, was my choice for such a trip, and all I had to do was pick my routes. Havana, Bogota, Colombia, maybe Panama, or Buenos Aires. There are 2 South American gateways, Houston or Miami. I picked Miami, and we were on our way. A vacation with Mom, Dad, Brother Bob, and maybe a surprise visitor later on.
So with all the hubbub of show business left behind in Hollywood, USA, the Malones were Latin America bound. Braniff's famous international gold service was at their fingertips all the way. As Braniff's service surrounded their every move, they kept hearing of the marvelous things to see and do in South America. Their every wish had been met, and for each city, the regular sightseeing tours of Braniff travel agents were to be used. The first port of call on this, their first real vacation in years, was Lima, Peru, land of the highway of the sun.
Well, my family was off, chasing the sun to its hiding place of the morning and not to its resting place of the night. So eastward we flew across the Andes, toward the Atlantic side of the South American continent.
The distance to Rio de Janeiro from Lima is 2,454 miles, and that's under 5 hours of jet flying time from our Peruvian holiday center, as we plan our further excursions with Dorothy Malone, her family, and Jacques Bergeron. Braniff International Airways serves 2 cities in Brazil. One is Rio de Janeiro. 300 miles south of Rio, located inland from the Atlantic, just a few miles, is perhaps one of the most electrifying cities of the world.
When you take to the sky, why is comfort on high? Like Braniff, like Braniff, like Braniff, like Braniff.
We have an expression in the States, see America first. I can wholeheartedly agree. But see all of the Americas first. We have. We made friends, we learned new things about our South American neighbors, we enjoyed their hospitality. All in all, we had a marvelous vacation. And speaking of hospitality, I can with confidence recommend the hospitality of Braniff Airways.
Like Braniff, the Boeing 707.
Braniff.
The
That was originally about a 30-minute clip that we pulled down, but it was a really fun clip to watch, and I thought it was fun. I had never seen that one before. We'd like to also do a special remembrance for Dorothy Malone, who was an avid Braniff fan and passed away earlier this year in January. So, to Dorothy. Okay, so for over a year, we have been trying to figure out what to do to best commemorate, Braniff's 90th birthday. It was decided that 2 scale models would, Braniff's most iconic airliners would be presented and revealed at tonight's event. These 2 beautiful 1/50th scale models of Braniff's famed Boeing 747-127, registered as November 601 BN and dubbed 747 Braniff Place, and of Concorde and the proposed Braniff Concorde color scheme. Here. Both of the models were produced by Pacific Miniatures, or Pac-Man, as many of you may know them, or out of Fulmore, California. The order was placed in mid-February of this year, and they were delivered in early June, and we were sweating it to make sure that they came in time. The color schemes and the color chips are exact and were taken from the original engineering drawings and paint codes from both the 747 and the proposed Concorde scheme that was never actually painted on a Braniff Concorde. This Concorde model is a heritage edition, meaning that it has been painted fully in the Braniff Concorde scheme, whereas the proposed model would have only been painted in Braniff's colors on the left side, and either Air France or British Airways on the right side. Each model goes through a multi-part process that includes research of the aircraft, engineering drawings, and casts, and then painting, and then creation of graphics, and application of details, and final inspection, of course. The company produced large desk models for Braniff during the 1960s and 70s, along with Braniff's longtime model maker Westway models of London, England. You will see the models at many of our upcoming events. On this day, February 23rd, 1977, the disco group Silver Convention performed a free concert for Braniff employees of Dallas Love Field Operations and Maintenance Base. Does anybody remember that? Nobody was there partying? All right. Oh, I see one hand. All right. The band penned a song titled Ultra Ultra to celebrate Braniff's New Elegance campaign that was introduced to the public at a special party in Acapulco, Mexico. It was dubbed 3 Evenings to Remember, the gala event, which was held over 3 days, February 17th through the 19th of 1977, to introduce Braniff's new look and unveil the new chic, new air, and new ground uniforms. A new paint scheme for the late master artist Alexander Calder was also unveiled by his wife, Miss Louisa Calder. The new Calder creation was dubbed Salute to Mexico and was planned for painting on the 10,000 square foot surface area of the Braniff Boeing 727 stretch jet. To further highlight the exciting event, guests were given a magnificent concert featuring Silver Convention. After their impressive performance at the Acapulco party, the band traveled to the U.S. for their first concert in the country to perform at the company's left field base. The three-girl group, which included Penny McLean, Ramona Wolfe, and Rhonda Heath, were adorned in elegant long sequined evening dresses for their spirited musical numbers. A special stage was constructed and placed in the North Hangar at Braniff OMB. Nodding heads, you definitely remember. All right. Okay, so the Grammy award-winning group had sold over 15 million albums, and their new song for Braniff Ultra Ultra was revealed on their next album. The group had traveled from Acapulco to Texas, and after the Dallas concert, the group flew to Philadelphia on Thursday to tape an interview at the syndicated Mike Douglas show. You may remember Silver Convention by their other hit global song, Fly Robin Fly. And I will not sing it for you. The new song was used throughout 1977 and 78 in Braniff's radio and television advertising. We recovered 2 versions, including a disco and orchestral version, which were used both on certain radio commercials. Let's listen to both versions that advertise Braniff.
Braniff will get you to Dallas-Fort Worth with flying colors. Take any one of 10 non-stops every business day from all 3 New York airports. That's more non-stops than any other airline. And exclusively on Braniff, you'll also enjoy the ultra touch of leather seats and coach on more flights every month. To Dallas-Fort Worth, call your travel agent or Braniff for the most non-stops and the ultra touch of leather seats. It's ski time in Colorado. Braniff really knows Colorado. We've been flying there for 22 years. And that's why we know the most exciting ski areas in Colorado and can offer you some of the best ski vacations in the Rockies. One Braniff ski vacation takes you to Copper Mountain for 5 days and 4 nights of Colorado's finest trails and slopes. It includes lift tickets and a ski-arized rental car with unlimited mileage for as little as $147 per person, double occupancy plus airfare. This low price is effective through December 17th. Braniff makes Colorado easy to ski with 6 daily flights to Denver and 5 on Sunday, including a morning and afternoon nonstop. We also have 2 daily through flights except Saturday to Colorado Springs. Just call your travel agent or Braniff.
Braniff will get you there. With flying colors, Braniff will get you.
I have to wonder if it's not cooler in Colorado than it is here. It's okay. It's ready for the next one to do the collection. Hit it again.
It's ski time in Colorado.
There we go. All right. In early 1982, a new ultra color scheme was proposed for all Braniff airliners, including Boeing 727s and 747s. The new scheme had already been designed, and the proposed orange scheme is similar to the one shown on the 727 on the screen. While the solid colors would remain, all of the power paint stripes on the engine cowlings and vertical on the horizontal tail surfaces would be removed, and a large Braniff font using the Ultra script would have been the only identifying markings other than the FAA registration number. Texas class advertisements were the first to incorporate the new scheme using the tail-to-tail 727s with a billboard Braniff scheme, and a June 1982 travel trade magazine featured an ad for Hawaii service with a 747 in the billboard design. The new scheme was attractive and continued the tradition of flying colors. Braniff's ground crew was already undergoing the transfer to the newer look. This included repainting the equipment from 78 Ultra Silver with mercury blue power paint stripes to the new medium brown color with beige Ultra script. There were some indications that the fleet might also be painted in this color, but company records indicated that several fuselage colors would be used. The overhaul of some of Braniff's passenger facilities had also gotten underway, such as Houston Intercontinental and Birmingham, Alabama. The DFW hub had not been remodeled into the new look.
Finally, tonight, reservation agents at Braniff International Airlines want to make one thing perfectly clear. They're behind Braniff 100%. And Channel 4's Jack Brown reports they raised the cash to prove it.
Reservation agents and other Braniff employees have been unhappy with some of the news coverage their company has been getting. And today, 10 of the agents stopped by the Times-Herald in downtown Dallas to fight fire with fire, cash on the barrelhead. They decided to buy a full-page newspaper ad to announce their support of Braniff. That ad, which will appear in the newspaper Tuesday, cost $32,00.52. At the moment of truth, they were short the 52 cents.
And who's got the 52 cents? So I've got a dime. Somebody's got to have 52 cents. We are short the 52 cents. Here's 55 cents. Okay, here's the 55 cents. You have your dollar back. Okay. Yeah. So, hey.
Braniff has about 6,400 employees in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. About 10% are reservation agents, and 97% of the agents contributed toward the ad. A rather generous gesture, considering they've already taken 10% pay cuts. So some people might question whether or not Braniff is going to survive, but these agents have few reservations. Jack Brown, Channel 4 News, Dallas.
Chip Moody has joined.
Isn't that fun? Yeah. Okay, so tonight we have a uniquely different story that will be told to you by our guest speaker, flight attendant, Mr. Gene White. Mr. White was aboard Braniff International's last scheduled flight, which was operated nonstop from Honolulu to DFW Airport in the early morning hours of May 15th, 1982. Ironically and certainly appropriately, this last flight was flown by Braniff's first and legendary 727-127, registered as November 601 BN. Gene will tell us his recollections of the historic but sad last flight. Please welcome Mr. Gene White.
Hello. Welcome aboard Braniff Flight 501, soon departing for Honolulu. I wanted to say that for years. Okay. I'd like to thank Mike Braniff for being here. Appreciate it. Can't believe Braniff is the last name. That's way cool. And Ben, thank you very much for the invite. Colin, for all your work. And I'd like to congratulate Yvonne, all the ladies down here, Dorcas, that is right, isn't it? Karen, Val, and I'd also like to thank Jean Jordan for doing the clip beats, because she's doing a good job at that. I worked for Braniff for 8 years as a flight attendant. Best job I ever had, entire life. I'm currently a personal trainer, and I work out for a living, so pretty cool, you know, you get paid for that. But I had done, I was hired in '74 as a flight attendant. Then I went on to be a trainer and recruiter training. I went on to teach at the flight attendant school. I was a national recruiter for Braniff. I flew all over the country hiring flight attendants, which was a really good job. I was the in-flight service coordinator for the Concorde. Actually made that job up myself. I thought that was cool. I wanted to get on the Concorde. I thought that I heard the flight attendants needed help with the service, and so I just presented it to Bill Smith. He said, "Okay, put special weights and everything." So I flew on the Concorde for a year. So that was fun. And then I was a flight attendant supervisor. So I had 100 flight attendants under me. They were mostly probationary flight attendants. So you're on probation so much. Oh, okay, sorry. I see that spotlight. It's like, yikes. So Brad has been incredibly good to me. And now I want to get something perfectly clear that's been sort of a question for years. I know that probably some questions down here. I did wear a dress, a Braniff uniform dress, on a flight from New York to Rio. Okay. I mean, I just want to say that wasn't my idea. It just wasn't my idea. Roxana Churoff, and some of you probably know Roxana. She's actually back flying now, which just blows my mind. I'm so jealous of that. But we were on this charter from New York, and we were going to Rio, and she said, she came up being the gal, she said, "Gene, we need to trade uniforms." And I went, "What?" And she goes, "You need to put my dress on, and I need to put your suit on." And I said, "You're out of your mind. What are you thinking?" And she goes, "No, these people are perfect for it. Let's switch uniforms." I said, "Where are we going to do this?" She goes, "In the bathroom." And I went, "Okay." And she said, "No peeking." Okay. So they peeked a little bit. So we changed uniforms, and I put a dress on. Couldn't zip it up all the way to the back. Only went halfway. So Cokes and 7-Ups, I had a dress on, she had my suit on, and we went out and served Cokes and 7-Ups to the people. And she was completely right. These people went bananas. It was like Beatles at the Forum. I've never seen that many flashballs in my whole life. And they just loved it. And then 2 weeks later, after the Rio trip, we got back, we got a letter from the charter company saying, "Those flight attendants on the charter, we don't want anyone else." So we flew to Rio for a year. So thank you, Roxanne. That was the best day ever. So let's move on to actually what Ben asked me here. It's what I call the last flight. 501, 502. So 501, we checked in. Everything seemed to be, just normal. We have a briefing. We flew to Honolulu. Of course, the typical Braniff first class service the entire way. Everybody was loving it. There was some discussion at that time, of course, that we were running out of money because that was the word on the street. How much money we have? Are we going to keep operating? So, we had a few conversations, but not a whole ton. And we got to Honolulu. We did the typical thing because of Braniff flight attendants. We always laid out in the same place all the time in front of the Royal Hawaiian. We had our place that we all met. We went out to dinner. Usually, we knew Hawaii so well because we flew there. That was our best trip until we went international to Paris and to London and stuff like that. But Honolulu was it. And so we had a great time. It was a typical layover. And we laid out the next day, typically, and then at the end of the day, the second day, before the crew bus came, we were laying on the top of the hotel, where we caught rays a lot of times. So a flight attendant came up the stairway and said, "We're the last flight. We're it. Braniff's bankrupt." And we were like throwing ice at him, "Get out of here." And of course, somebody, a couple of flight attendants started crying. I wasn't one of those, but felt like crying. But because of course we didn't really know if it was true or not. So we said, no, it's not the case. So we all, of course, got, very serious, went downstairs to get ready for the crew bus. We got on the crew bus, it was completely, hear a pin drop in there. So we got to the airport and we saw on one of the newspaper racks, Braniff bankrupt. So we were all just like, whoa, man, this is crazy. And because, the thing is that if you know flight attendants, none of us saved any money. I mean, we're the freest spirits. Might be surfers or flight attendants, it's just a free spirit. So, we just didn't think that day would ever come. So it was a sobering situation. So when we got into the gate area, the agent said, yeah, it's true. You're the last flight. So Jean Duncan was the senior flight attendant on that flight. So she called us all together and she said, well, okay, you all know we're it. We're the last flight. What I've been told is that we have to tell the pass riders coming off of that plane, they're coming for vacation, they don't know. They got to get back on the plane. So we had to tell the flight attendants that we knew, and the pass riders, when they got off. No one knew. The passengers didn't know. No one was told. The only people on that plane that were told that knew was the cockpit, the crew, the pilots. They knew. And I understand that they were told halfway to Hawaii on 501 coming over that they should land in California. And that if they were out of money, they weren't sure that if they went to Hawaii, they would give us fuel to get back on 502. And I understand this pilot says, hey, these people were paid to go to Hawaii. We're taking to Hawaii. That's Braniff style right there. So they came, but they all that crew had to get back on the level. So they all had to get back on the plane with us because in the pass riders, because it wasn't, if you stayed, you didn't have any guarantee that any airline in the world was going to honor your pass. You might have full $1,000 to get back to Dallas for your ticket. So we told them, Gene had a meeting with us and said, okay, how do we do this? And we all just said, hey, listen, we're just going to do this right, Excuse me. It was a hard day. And we're going to do it like we've always done it with Braniff, the first class way. So we just said, okay, this last time, and we're going to treat these people like they've never been treated before. And that's what we did. So on the way back, a lot of people were, crying and patting us on the back, and we were so sorry because the passengers learned we were the last flight. And, we gave away everything. Every big dollar, and here, dig that, and here, headsets. We just had the best time. I mean, that was undoubtedly probably the best flight that they've ever had in their entire lives. Well, when we were coming into Dallas in the landing, it was raining real hard. It was very appropriate weather for that day. And the lightning periodically, and when we were coming in for our approach, you could see all these planes. It was really weird. I mean, it looked like 200 or 300 planes. I mean, we probably didn't have that many planes, but every time the lightning went, you could see all these planes, and there wasn't not one person moving, not one baggage thing, not a cart. It was just planes, and then the terminal. So we landed, we got on the ground, we were taxiing to the terminal, to our gate in 502. And the real weird thing is that at that time, the gate came up to the plane, and we couldn't see anybody. You could usually see the agent controlling the gate, but you couldn't see an agent. It was really crazy. It was like mystery. And when we stopped, we got the biggest ovation that anybody's ever heard. it was unreal. These people just went nuts. And it was way, way cool. So they got off. We looked at each other. We said, hey, this is it. A bunch of us said, let's go down the lounge. So we went down the lounge. We hugged, of course, and wasn't a dry eye in the house at that time. And we got the lounge, and 4 or 5 of us, and it was locked. So, yeah, it was a real sad deal. And so we just looked at each other, and we hugged each other, and we left. So that was the end of the last flight, and we went out. The first class, best in-flight service in the entire world, like we came in. So there you go.
Could have been better. Thank you, Gene. So there are times in life when you meet someone, you become truly intrigued with their knowledge about a specific subject. I must say that when Ben and I met tonight's keynote speaker a while back, both of us were equally bowled over by his amazing knowledge of his equally amazing family that paved the way for the rise of America's most colorful carrier, Braniff. Tonight, Mr. Michael S. Braniff, the grandson of Braniff Airways co-founder Paul Revere Braniff, will discuss his family and the unique manuscripts that his father and uncle created about the airline industry and a very early time in its history. Without further delay, I introduce Mike Braniff.
Howdy. I'm a retired aircraft maintenance technician extraordinaire. Now, there were 4 Braniff brothers. There was Ed, Tom, Phil, and Paul Revere. I'm totally unprepared for this couple. John A. Their parents, John A. Braniff and Mary, had 6 children over 23 years, from 1876 to 1897. And anyway, the oldest was Ed. He grew up in Salina, Kansas, and his idea of fun was a fishing pole and books to go down to the Smoky Hill River in Salina, Kansas. They moved to Kansas City in 1892, and by that time Ed was submitting, I won't say articles, but they were like limericks to the Kansas City Star. Well, in 1897, he submitted an essay to the Sons of the Revolution organization. The essay was the character and public services of Paul Revere. Now, his youngest brother was born that year, and they named him Paul Revere. That's how he got his name, Paul Revere. And that's Paul. Do you want to go back to that one where they're all standing there? Yeah. Okay. This is my dad. Anyway, that's Bess, Tom, and that's Well, that's Paul. That's G. Braniff. And oh, that's my grandmother here. My grandmother and my dad. Anyways, yeah, I found that. That's never been seen by the public. You're probably the first ones to see it. But anyway, so he wins this essay, and then in 1897, he gets a job at the Kansas City Star, a police reporter, and he was a Kansas City Star police reporter from 1897 to 1903, and he did reporting for got a report from Teddy Roosevelt, but there was a plethora of others. That there was a train robber north of Kansas City in the Crooked Neck district. His name was Jesse James. Well, one of his buddies was in Kansas City one night, and his horse slipped on the ice, and he was knocked out cold in this alleyway. Anyway, somebody found him, and they rushed to the jailhouse and said, "Hey, Jack Kennedy's knocked out cold." So they rustled him back to the jailhouse, and anyway, his nickname was Missouri Slim at that time. But that night, the Long John, the sheriff, big tall guy, he says, now Jack, what are you doing riding out of town with a bandana on and a railroad lantern to flag down the train so that it stopped, and sticks of dynamite in your saddlebags? And Jack Kennedy says, well, I was going quail hunting. So from then on, he had another nickname, quail hunting. Anyway, yeah. So now he was also a quick confidant to Carrie Nation, and he was sent over to Salina, Kansas, where he made quick friends with her, and he was reported on the Senate Saloon bust up, and plus other ones. But the most interesting one was he was in the same room when Carrie Nation, in the governor's office, Governor Stanley, and Carrie Nation was giving him a piece of her mind. And he also saw her in the Wichita jail, and a few others, I guess. Now then, he worked for some of all the founders of Kansas City. There's streets named after these folks, and parks, and sections of town are named after them. But anyway, I think I'm on the wrong page. But anyway, he was this police reporter. But the founder of the Kansas City Star, and some Yaleys helped him get admitted into the Yale School of Forestry. And anyway, while he was there, he obtained the John Addison Porter Prize, which, before that, he was asking the founder of the Kansas City Star for, advancing some money. But after that, he was able to pay his way through. Then he obtained the Master's of Forestry, and from 1903 to 1910, he for the second time he met Teddy Roosevelt and Gifford Pinchot. I spelled Pinchot. I don't know. Anyway, there's a national forest named after Gifford Pinchot over in the Cascade Mountains. Now, Edward, he traveled by train, all over the Cascade Mountains in Oregon and some part of Texas down here in East Texas and South Carolina. And anyway, imagine a 19-hour stagecoach ride from Shannecoe to Prineville, Oregon. He steps off the stage and goes to the hotel and bar and talks to the lady behind the bar about a mountain guide. He was, going up to the mountain to look at the trees. That's what he did, forestry. And he was a Yale intern, but he was with the U.S. Forest Service. But he goes to the lady behind the bar and asks him for a guide to go up in the mountains. And turns out the guide, she was just trying to get rid of him. Turned out to be a lousy cook. Anyway, he's on horseback and going up in the mountains. But he also had other guides that were, good guides. One time he had to jump off the horse because the snake was getting ready to bite him. But anyway, so that's basically in a nutshell about Ed. And then there was Tom. And back in the 80s, I went into the Oklahoma Historical Society and gave them all the names of my relatives, and they, on a library table, they filled up one whole side and another part of the other, and I was just overwhelmed. But anyway, so I haven't spent any time on him. Because he was who's who in America in the 1930s. But anyway, then there was that guy named Phil. Phil, he worked for Tom in the insurance company in Tulsa. Tom's T.E. Braniff company, Tepco, and then there was Paul. Now Paul was in World War I, and that's where he learned how to fly Jenny biplanes. He was an observer, and he trained other guys how to do different positions on the airplane. But anyway, so in 1927, he was in the National Air Tour to Detroit, Buffalo, Boston, New York, Baltimore, Cleveland, Louisville, Dallas, and then back to his own part of the country, and then to Kansas City, Chicago, and Dearborn. It was sponsored by Edsel Ford. Now, I'm just going to rattle off some of these names. I don't know if you'll recognize them, but these are all pioneer aviators. In other words, on this National Air Tour was Eddie Stinson, and they later bought the first airplane from Eddie Stinson. Anyway, there's a guy named Frank Cox, Tom Hamilton, Billy Brock, Ed Shee, a reporter from the Daily Oklahoma, Dave Shackelford, and Ken Bodecker. Am I right on that? And of course, Lindbergh's mechanic, Randolph Page, Harry Mermit, Dean Burford, anyway, John P. Riddle. I think there's an Emory Riddle somewhere around. E.W. Cleveland. Oh yeah. But there was Mr. Congeniality, and that's the name he used, Paul used, was Ernie Pyle. And Ernie Pyle later became a World War II war correspondent. But these guys were crisscrossing the country, you know, and they'd all get together if somebody's usually hit Paul's room, and they would have a few and start singing the songs of the day that he actually wrote down. Ragtag Cowboy Joe, yes sir, that's my baby. Ain't she sweet? So then, of course, now Lindbergh was a lot of Paul's inspiration to start an airline, and he went to Tom and let me see, I've got something here I want to say about. There it is. Anyway, Tom knew Paul as well as he knew his rosary. Paul, you know, it's a dictionary word, syllogistically, but he used syllogizing, a logical scheme on analysis of, of the formal agreement, to start this airline. Anyway, Tom didn't dabble in the stock market. When the stock market fell in '29, he had money and he was able to send Paul out to all an idle Lockheed plant and buy airplane parts and engines, spare parts, and that kind of stuff. But mentioning the Lockheed Vega, a representative from Lockheed brought a Lockheed Vega to Oklahoma City for Paul to take it up for a ride. Well, he wasn't used to the characteristics of the takeoff of a Lockheed Vega. Well, he hit the only dang barn in the whole surrounding area. So he was the barnstormer. There's a picture of it somewhere. But there's other interesting things. You know, he flying across country, and he ran into bad weather. And on the Stinson Detroiter, they had a water jug in there, and some guy had a jug of whiskey. So they started drinking this whiskey in the water, and then they ran out of water. Well, one of the ladies on board, she donated one of her undergarments, and they hung it from the wings. I don't know how they did it, but anyway, they hung it from the wings and collected water so that they'd have more water. So, there's these. Okay, see, my grandmother. Paul. First Ed. Ed wrote a book in 1942, and that book and my grandfather's book airline saga, I found in a file cabinet in my parents' house. You know, at my parents' house in 1971, the first thing that appeared was this collage, a framed collage that Paul had put together with his pilot's license signed by Orville Wright, and then also a ticket plane check with Will Rogers, you know. And, you know, he knew Will Rogers, Wally Post, and all these other guys that, you know, were famous in the, you know, there's a ton of names I could rattle off. Now, I probably have gone too far at that. But anyway, I found these two books, and, you know, I never have been a book reader. But these two books I've read, you know, they're the only books I ever have read, other than textbooks, you know, cover to cover. And they're just awesome. You know, he mentions the 1927. Well, in 1934, he was he got in contact with Senator Hugo Black. And as a result, FDR, he went down in the cab a few floors below his office in this room, and it was, you know, it had a big library table. Anyway, he met with Hugo Black, some Secret Service, and postal inspectors to bust up the monopoly of the mail contracts. See, the mail contracts at the time were divvied up. The Postmaster General would go into this smoke-filled room, and, you know, then he'd walk out, and all these guys would divvy up all the airmail contracts. And Braniff and there's a few other airlines that weren't getting airmail contracts. So anyway, he devised a plan with these guys on how to subpoena the companies and all this kind of stuff. And finally, now he went back to Oklahoma City, sworn to secrecy, and FDR in 1934 canceled all mail contracts. And then the congressional hearings came along. And what I forgot to mention is that of the four brothers, three brothers, Ed, Tom, and Paul, testified before Congress and changed laws. Ed, he went undercover as a log scaler, and then wired back to Washington to Gifford Pinchot that, yeah, these guys were ripping off the Native Americans. That, he then testified in the congressional hearings for that. But the sad thing about it is that case wasn't resolved until the 1970s, and the natives, they got pennies on the dollar for what, Ed went through and marked all the trees that they were supposed to cut down. But no, they just came in and clear cut, stuff like that. Now, and then Tom and Paul testified in the airmail scandal. Yeah, there was, it was also called the spoils conferences, which was when the Postmaster General just left and let them figure out all that stuff. But anyway, as far as Braniff, the airline, I never worked for him. I was, in May of '82, it went under, and in June of 1982, I graduated from the Spartan School of Aeronautics with my A&P license, and so I went back to college. I got some more. I was on the GI Bill, but anyway, so I went on with my life, but I found these two books, and it really, really changed a lot of things, and I've done so much research. There's so much in my head that I wish I could do a Star Trek mind meld, Spock mind meld, let it all out. I'm just tired of carrying it around. Anyway, okay. Well, hey, you guys. Thank you, everybody. And, I as an aircraft mechanic, I worked along with Braniff, former Braniff. And initially, when they heard my name, and what? Because I lost everything, And then once they got to know me, everything was cool. But I've never heard anything bad about Braniff. Anyway.
Thank you.
I think everybody here thanks Mike, especially for being here, part of your family, and obviously your family heritage for affecting and touching every person in this room. So, thank you again. So just to give you guys a 10-minute break, if anybody wants to take a breather, there are water fountains outside and restrooms if you want to just stretch your legs for 5 or 10 minutes. And then we'll start again at about 8:10. Thank you.
Yes.
Got about 5 minutes remaining. 5 minutes. Everybody can make their way back to their seats. We'll be starting again. About 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you all could get back to your seats, that would be great. Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Didn't matter. I am always taken back at how wonderful it is when everybody gets together. It's like the company never ending. Every time.
We're faster to Bogota.
Only one airline gives you beautiful non-stop 747s to Santiago from Los Angeles.
We're Braniff. We're faster to Santiago.
Only one airline gives you the most direct 747 flights to Buenos Aires from Los Angeles.
We're Braniff. We're better to South America.
While we were on break, we bought an A380. Put it on another fun concept video. What Braniff would be today. All right, so in the spring of 2017, the foundation made the decision to direct and produce a documentary about the history of Braniff Airways from 1926 through to the current period. A general script was drawn up, and it was also decided that the employee interviews should be conducted and would play a key role in the documentary. The interviews were announced in late summer 2017 and began first in August. Today we've interviewed over 40 Braniff family members, historians, industry executives, and other people related to the history and development of Braniff Airways. Prior to the interview, Prior to their interview, research was conducted to learn about the history of the interviewee and how they were connected to Braniff. Once that was determined, then a series of questions were created that were tailored to their specific role and at Braniff, and also about their external view of the company. The interviews were constructed so that 12 seconds could be taken from one interview to answer one question and piece it all together into a documentary that will be coming out soon. First
Hi, my name is Chuck Green.
What years did you work for Braniff?
I worked for Braniff from 1956 to 1982, and then from 85 to 1989 in Braniff 2.
Did you ever fly in the 747?
Yes, sir, I did. I was very fortunate. When I was in the training department, on the 727 and then the DC-8, I was very fortunate to become Director of Flight Standards. I was in charge of the DC-8 and the 747 training. Obviously, I may have been an instructor and check airman. I didn't get to fly a tremendous amount of time, but I got to know it well, and I got to fly to Hawaii, Europe, and places like that. It was a wonderful airplane. It had everything a pilot could ask for. I would just like to add one thing on the 747. If you ever made a bad landing, the only way you could do that was work at it. It was probably the easiest aircraft to fly that I'd ever flown in my life.
I love that.
It'll always be in my mind where I was on May the 12th, 1982. I was flying a 727 trip to Tampa, Florida. While we were there, I made a walk around on the airplane and talked. I talked to one of the cargo men. I said, well, how's everything going? We knew we were in bad trouble. I said, how's everything going? He said, well, I understand you pilots are going to go on strike. I said, I'll tell you, I can guarantee you, the Braniff pilots are not going to go on strike. We weren't even talking about it. So we loaded the airplane, we pushed back, ground control called and said, Braniff, we've got a severe thunderstorm up in Dallas. Have you checked the weather? Well, we hadn't got the latest weather, I guess, because we weren't aware of it. So I said no, but we called the people on the ground and asked them to pull us back into the gate, which we did. So I went in and I called dispatch. I said, I hear you got some bad weather up there. And the dispatcher said, Chuck, I tell you what, that's not all. We just shut the doors. I said, oh, don't tell me that. We've got enough rumors going on as it is. And he says, no. He says, bring your airplane back to Dallas. I hope you can find a place to park. You know, one of the big things about Braniff and Braniff personnel is how much they care about each other.
Chuck is with us tonight. Chuck, if you want to stand and say. Next up is our interview with Christine Cockle. Chris is not with us tonight, but Chris is on Facebook Live watching right now. So, hello, Chris. Everybody here is waving at you. Yes, there we go. All right, so Chris is interviewing.
My name is Chris Cockle, and I started with Braniff International in 1977.
What was your position at Braniff?
I started out as a flight attendant, and I stayed a flight attendant and loved every minute of it.
What do you remember most about Braniff?
I would probably say the thing that I would remember the most was it was a class act. It was a class act, and everybody worked together, whether you be a flight attendant, a ticket agent, or whatever position you held, you worked together. Yes, I flew with Mr. Lawrence. He and his family were in our flight, and I believe he was probably either going to Acapulco or New York. I'm not sure, but I was a senior and the flight attendant on the flight, and we had a full coach. In first class, we had nobody. Well, Mr. Lawrence and his family were obviously first class. We had no food. We had no first class anything. Glasses, napkins, whatever. So we decided that between the four of us, we would make it like first class. We found something that resembled a napkin and a tray. I mean, it was nowhere close to first class, but we didn't want them to have a coach meal. I mean, it was a coach meal, but it was laid out as if it were to be first class, and he was easy to talk to. I mean, he just, I would ask him what he would like, and we fixed him drinks and the girls and whatever, and then I'd go back to coach. I'll see you later. He goes, okay, see you later. We'd go back to coach and work. Wow, the first class service was wonderful. You had two flight attendants working the courses, and they had 4 different courses, I think, I'm not sure. But, the passengers loved it, because what we were told when we started, when you talk to your customers, or your passengers, I should say, treat them like they were in your own home. That was the main thing that was taught in the beginning. Treat all of your passengers, whether they be coach or first class, it didn't matter. Treat them like they were in your own home, with respect. With respect. I believe it was, I don't remember if it was 4 weeks or 6 weeks. It was a week of each particular thing. It was like serving, and then your hair, your presentation, and then they would tell you, what you needed to look like, and, this and that. And, and then, of course, emergency, which was really wonderful. We had some really great emergency teachers when we had to go off the back of a wing, or, which was kind of scary. I was the last one off one of the wings when we had to show that we could do it. And I remember sitting at the top of the wing, and I stood next to this gentleman, and I said, I can't do it. And he said, well, yes, you can. And I said, I don't think I can. I'm scared of heights. I tell people that you're a flight attendant and you're afraid of heights. And he said, okay, you will go off. So we have a picture of me going off the back of the wing of 727, like this. It was, but I went off. I did.
That's great. Thank you, Chris. Next up, we have Ed Kuykendall, and we'll play his clip.
My name is Ed Kuykendall. I started in 1959 through 1982, and then from 1984 to 1989.
What were your positions at Braniff?
My position at Braniff to start with was customer service agent at Love Field, at the ticket counter, working 4 to 12:30 Monday, Tuesday off. Then eventually, when I got to DFW, for a little while I was a lead agent. Then I went back to customer service. Once I learned what I was doing, and everyone had trained me well, that I watched and observed, I love the camaraderie and the people. We had the best people, and it was so cool to give great customer service and people to brag and come up and said, "We've heard about how great your customer service is, and your flight attendants are awesome on their customer service. You're really lucky to be working here." And I said, "Yes, my prayers have been answered." I said, I love this job. What really was just awesome was the end of the plane commercials. When the 727s, the Calders, Fat Albert, and then they brought the women out in the multi costumes or outfits that they wore. It was just unbelievable. And did the food commercials in the first class, and the girls in the engines and on the aisles, and we were number one in the world on recognition. Well, at Old Love Field back then, no one had their private jets. And one day, Bob Hope and Bing Crosby walks up, and Bob Hope says, "Let me look at your name tags." And there was 5 of us on the counter. He looked at all 5 name tags, and he said, "Okay." And then he named us all off within 6 seconds. He had a fantastic. And then he said, "Well, I've got to go make some money. I'm leaving." Well, Bing Crosby said, "Guys," he says, "I like to play dominoes or checkers. You got a break room?" So we go back in the break room. We play checkers, dominoes. He buys us coffee and tea and any snacks we want. And he tells us his life story. And then he comes by another day, and he's got the Rat Pack with him, and they're going to the Dallas Country Club play golf. He said, "Now, I'll buy you the best steak in town if you can drive the cart." Well, I had work with a couple of guys that got off and went over there, and he was super nice.
Ed, thanks for being with us tonight for your story. Next up, we've got maintenance technician for 7701. It's Johnny Garland Jackson.
My name is Johnny Jackson. I worked for Braniff from August of 1967 to May 12th, 1982. Probably, I don't know so much about the corporate part, but out in the hangar, there were several general foremen and managers that I really appreciated their work. They treated us really good, like family. There was no looking down on us. And so that's Fred Costin probably was the most notable. He was the general foreman in aircraft overhaul. Never wore a suit and tie, wore strictly khakis and boots. That was it. You did not get bored with your job at Braniff. They made it, if you wanted to try something, they gave you a chance to do it. It was at Braniff, 7701 Lemon Avenue was a very exciting place to work. You were a part of a family. Every phase of the maintenance was done right there at 7701 Lemon. From the machine shop to the tire building, engine, we call it engine overhaul, but it was really build up of the QEC kits on them. All the letter checks were done right there in the hangar. So machine shop was there, the sheet metal shop. We had the world-class plating shop that did all the landing gears. So Braniff was a first-class maintenance facility.
Johnny, you had a view that not many people did. Thanks for being with us tonight. Johnny. All right. During the summer of 2017, a plan was devised to recreate a unique advertisement that Braniff Incorporated had commissioned for an August 1989 issue of USA Today newspaper. The ad was intended to show that Braniff passengers were in the care of highly experienced personnel such as the flight attendant group. 4 ladies that had combined service year of over 100 years were chosen for the shoot, and they had all gathered at a hotel in Kansas City, Missouri, that summer to face the photographer. All 4 were dressed in their Braniff Inc. 2-piece uniforms, and the stage was a quiet hotel room. If you look to the screen, this was the this was a finished ad that appeared in the August 1989 issue of USA Today. The 4 flight attendants are from left to right: Val Pilburn, Yvonne Holt-Crum, Dorcas Robinson Taylor, who is seated, and Karen Aubrey. Truly unique and memorable ad that grabbed the public's attention. In the summer of 2017, the plan called for asking these 4 ladies to join together to once again recreate this monumental photo. Flight attendant Kathy Logan Smith played a key role in helping to arrange for the meeting to take place, and flight attendant Claudia Bevel was asked to join us as the reunion to act as a hostess for the day. Once we had everyone's commitment to the reunion and the photo shoot, we set the date for November 19th, 2018 at the Foundation's headquarters in Dallas. A noted Dallas photographer for The Advocate and a few other magazines locally, Danny Fulgencio, was commissioned to recreate the photo. So you can already tell how good it's going to be. All right. So here are the results of that amazing day of seeing old friends, reminiscing, and creating Braniff history for future generations to admire and to enjoy. Please, would you all, of the 100-year service ladies, please stand along with Ms. Bevel and Ms. Logan Smith. Give them a After the shoot, the ladies sat down to talk more about Braniff, the shoot, and their amazing careers. We've got a little segment put together for that.
My name's Dorcas Taylor, and I started with Braniff in 1966. And I'm not sure what the end date was, but there were so many end dates. If it was 89, I think we determined I flew about 25 years, 24 years.
And what was your position at Braniff?
Flight attendant.
Okay, Yvonne, if you could do the same thing.
I started 7/18/64, and I ended my career 46 years to the day later with another airline. But with Braniff, I flew until the last door was shut, 89.
Karen,
I'm Karen. Actually, when at Braniff too, it was Forensic. I'm Karen Aubrey. It's my last name now. I started with Braniff in 1965, and I flew until the end of 1989. So that's about 25 or 26 years I was a flight attendant. To me, it was the wonderful camaraderie that Braniff, the excitement, the people. It was truly a joy to go to work. We had so much fun with our passengers on the airplane. The service was fantastic, the cellar service, and it was an exciting year going to work for. I think we had great pride in it, because I think we felt like there was pride within the company all around, and I don't think that was the case with other airlines, but I think the pride that we took in the company, and knowing that we were responsible for the company doing as well as it did, which I think is always a good thing.
And that kind of cutting edge innovation that Mary Wells brought on, that whole transition kind of kept us
Absolutely.
motivated.
Absolutely.
I thought, how will we ever get all these people served?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I couldn't
It was
even.
enormous.
No, it was absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
It's true. And more things happened on those things. I mean, my goodness.
There were some stories.
I left a couple out.
Tom was a good friend of mine, he was marketing director at the time, and he was also staying at the hotel in Kansas City where we were. So he got in touch with me and he said, take the number of years you've been flying and find me 3 others that you'd want to be in a photo with, that all the seniorities will add up 100 years. And that's, I found 3 others.
Okay, and so where was the photo shoot held?
Kansas. It was Kansas City.
Kansas City. And did they have you all just come to there, once you just met there, and was it a studio?
I think most of us were in Kansas City at that time, even though our home was Dallas, we were commuting. I know that Dorcas and I were working on the training for the A320 that they were bringing out.
In Kansas.
Yeah, because
in
most of our
Kansas.
headquarters was in Kansas City then, so yeah, so we spent a lot of time in Kansas City.
So was it shot at a studio or the headquarters building?
I shot at the hotel, I think.
I think it was.
I think it was shot at the hotel.
Do you remember which?
I think the ballroom, whatever that Hilton is where we stayed, remember that?
I don't remember.
I think it was that Hilton where we stayed, where ladies were.
So I assume basically they just had you come in uniform, officially for a flight?
I think we had all been working for the day or something.
Caught you at the end of the day. You look amazing. Is there anything else that you remember about the photo shoot or anything?
I remember that they had a lady there that was kind of helping us with our hair and our makeup, and my hair was long, but I didn't wear it quite like it was in the photo. But it was, I remember Yvonne said, you can't touch my hair. And I pushed
That's fantastic. Dorcas, anything?
No, I forgot about the makeup lady, but I did remember her fooling with our hair.
Was there a lot of staff there or just photographer?
No,
There was just
Tommy was there.
Yeah, and Tom was there, but it was interesting because we had no idea what it was going to do with it. I just thought it was a great experience, but we had no idea really what it was going to be in the day that it came out.
We really didn't know until the day we got out.
We had no idea what they were going to do with it. They just wanted, we knew it had something to do with USA Today, but we were certainly not expecting,
Full page.
Yeah,
Right.
Tom didn't, surprise. He was saving that as a surprise, but it was amazing.
Pretty cool. These are a few of the clips that we put together from the 40 people that we've interviewed. There's obviously a lot more content, and we'll keep working on that for the future. So as we prepare to begin the Braniff Airways Foundation Hall of Fame induction ceremony, I would like to introduce Braniff Flight Attendant Claudia Bevel, who's going to act as Master of Ceremonies for the induction. Claudia.
Thank you, Colin, and welcome everyone to this very special Braniff Airways Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The Braniff Airways Foundation Hall of Fame Award is designed to recognize persons that have dedicated their lives to the promotion of aviation and the preservation of Braniff Airways. The foundation reviews a number of different parameters when deciding on the selection of an inductee. Nominations for future awards can be sent to the foundation via email at info@braniff-airways-foundation.org. 2018 inductees are Flight Attendant Karen D. Aubrey, Flight Attendant Dorcas Robinson Taylor, Flight Attendant Val J. Pyburn, Flight Attendant Yvonne Holt Crum, and Braniff Airways founding family member Michael S. Braniff. Let me tell you something about these outstanding inductees. Flight Attendant Karen Aubrey grew up in the state of Nebraska and attended the University of Wyoming in Laramie. She applied to Braniff and began her training as a hostess in May 1965. Although she was required to be single when she began her career, things changed. In 1968, Karen married, yet she continued to fly the colorful skies of Braniff and was still flying when Braniff declared bankruptcy in 1982. She returned to Braniff in 1984 and flew until 1989 when she transitioned over to American Airlines. Retiring from American Airlines in 2001, Karen has been an active member of the Clipped Bees, serving as vice president for 2 years and a member of the Frontiers of Flight Museum Committee. She currently enjoys teaching dance several days a week, which she is passionate about. Karen's memories of Braniff and the end of the plane live on as some of her best lifetime memories. Flight Attendant Dorcas Robinson Taylor began her career with Braniff in 1966. During her tenure, she was privileged to be included in many special assignments for Braniff, including the 1967 International Air Hostess Quest in Melbourne, Australia, the Supersonic Age of Braniff display in Washington, D.C. for the Department of Transportation in 1968, and the 1973 Paris Air Show with none other than famed artist Alexander Calder. Dorcas completed her Master of Fine Arts degree at the University of North Texas in 1983 while flying for Braniff. Her thesis project was Men in Skirts, which was presented at the Artwear Fashion Show in Dallas. Models for the presentation were no less than Braniff's own flight attendants. The Skirts project was covered by United Press International and garnered more than 30 radio interviews for her, including an interview with the British Broadcasting Company. She appeared on the Phil Donahue Show and the Alan Thicke Show, displaying her unique designs. Like Braniff, Dorcas was ahead of her time. Flight Attendant Yvonne Holt Crum joined Braniff in 1964, ultimately retiring from American Airlines in 2010. During her 46-year career, she worked flight service management, recruiting, new route presentations, charters, and the Vietnam Airlift, eventually being named to the Flight Attendants Hall of Fame in Arlington. She has been married for 51 years to her beloved husband, Mayo P. Crum Jr. She has 2 sons, Michael and Paul, as well as a gorgeous granddaughter, Samantha Jordan Crum. She's a redhead, y'all.
Yes.
Currently, Yvonne is dedicated to the Suicide Crisis Center of North Texas and is an active community volunteer. Yvonne is founder of Fashion Stars for a Cause to help raise awareness that there is hope for those in crisis. Suicide prevention is one of Yvonne's greatest passions. Braniff Airways founding family member Michael S. Braniff was appropriately born at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City. He went to 8 schools in 5 different states, graduating in 1975 from Mount St. Mary's High School in Oklahoma City. His university studies include credits from Rose State College, University of Central Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State University. In 1976, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and served at Fort Knox, Kentucky, Fort Benning, Georgia, Fairbanks, Alaska, Fort Hood, Texas, and Wildflecken, West Germany. Wildflecken. I tried to make it sound more German. I mean, seriously, Wildflecken. His expert infantry badge, good conduct medal, and outstanding service resulted in an honorable discharge in 1980. He also served in the U.S. Air Force Reserves at Tinker Air Force Base. Actually, his accomplishments are too many to mention in this brief time. I had a hard time whittling those down. Mike retired from civilian federal service in 2012 as an aircraft maintenance technician extraordinaire. His bio byline is, whatever you do in life, write something down about your life and times. And I think he demonstrated through his presentation tonight that those things that were written by his family members prior years have become treasures to many people in this room. Thank you, Mike, for your service to our country. Finally, Flight Attendant Val J. Pyburn, who unfortunately could not be with us tonight. The dedication of these fine people, not only to their impressive careers with Braniff, but also their love of aviation and the airline industry, were key points that led us to their selection. They will join our 2014 Hall of Fame inductee, John Allen Pierce, the architect of Braniff Hostess College and Jet Rail Car Park System, along with Flight Attendant Supervisor Miss Jean Duncan and Director of Advertising Jack Witherspoon, both inducted in 2016, and more recently Captain Orville Rogers, who was inducted in April 2017. All of us at Braniff Airways Foundation are pleased to honor and welcome our 2018 inductees for the Braniff Airways Foundation Hall of Fame. As I call your name, please come forward and accept your award, remaining on stage as you are called. Flight Attendant Dorcas Robinson Taylor. Flight Attendant Karen D. Aubrey. Flight Attendant Yvonne Crum. And Michael S. Braniff, grandson of Braniff Airways co-founder Paul Revere Braniff. And lastly, Flight Attendant Val J. Pyburn, represented by Kathy Logan Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Braniff Airways Foundation Hall of Fame 90th Anniversary inductees for 2018.
Thank you all very much. All right, great. We'll move on and hit a very special greeting that took a tremendous amount of coordination to put together. So give us a 30-second allowance for what you're about to see. So I believe we have a special surprise live from downtown Dallas. Let's get, I'm gonna let it start loading first. It's really, really special. That's why you gotta wait for it. Loading.
That's a DC-3. That was in service for Braniff, from June of 1941 until May of 1953. And this is I found in my dad's stuff a Ziploc bag with one page of that in-flight. It was in-flight stationery, and I figured out a way to blow it up to a regular size page. But if I leave it the same size, you can't read it. But I blew it up to this regular 8 by 8.5 by 11. But the document, the text I keep within the. Anyway, it was the Great Lakes to the. 30 seconds. Okay. At the bottom of the little thing, it says Great Lakes to the Gulf. To the Gulf. Yeah. To the Gulf. Okay. Yeah.
Please work.
Anyway, Ben is going to have those available on his website.
No, it's playing.
The blank house.
Okay, Mike, keep talking.
Oh, I'll tell you another. Well, see, Edward met a gal from Connecticut, right? And anyway, so back in the day, whatever it was, Edward had the unfortunate incident of letting one slip out, and anyway. Elizabeth, in her Connecticut accent, says to Edward, the window. That I got from my grandmother. Edward, the window. Oh yeah, see, Paul when he came home, he would buzz my grandmother's house to let her know to go out to the airport and pick him up. Yeah, these two books, they were in. One was in a typing box, and the airline saga. Now, Paul was a good writer, but all of them were excellent writers. Phil's a good writer, Ed, all of them. I don't know that Tom wrote anything, but these two books, one is leather bound, and it's 140 pages, but Paul was he had to outdo his older brother. It's like 300 pages long, and I found it all in a old typing box, page after page after words. And over the years, I've now it's a lot easier to do the research on just the names that he mentioned, but in Airline Saga I put Yeah, you're good. Anybody that reads these two books is going to need a dictionary and know something about, because they use some big words. I mean, I had to look up, I've looked up so many words. And Airline Saga, he's talking about all these pioneers in aviation, and, Lindbergh and all these other guys, I could write up if I had it all. But anyway, Paul was inducted into the Oklahoma Pioneer Aviator Hall of Fame at the Kirkpatrick Air and Space Museum in 1993, and I was there for that. And then at the Texas Aviation Hall of Fame, the Lone Star Flight Museum in Houston. Well, there was a guy wandering around. He looked familiar. I don't know. I just couldn't place his name. Anyway, he was wandering around. And everybody knew him, and he was. But there was one thing I noticed. It was and I had seen it before. It was the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So anyway, I get up on stage. Tom and Paul were inducted into the museum that night, and I'm standing up there talking to this pioneer aviator over here, and then this guy walks around and stands next to me, and I says, I'm Mike Braniff. My grandfather was Paul Revere Braniff. And I kind of whispered, and I says, "Sir, what's your name?" And he just kind of, Buzz Aldrin. I was just awestruck. The holy S word just fell right out. These two guys right here, I would have never been able to shake hands with Buzz Aldrin.
Well, we are still working on trying to pull up the image for you because it's a live stream. It seems like every time I depend on the internet, the lights go down. So, what we have for you, and we hope to still be able to pull it up, but is a partnership with the Omni Hotel, who was wishing Braniff a birthday tonight. Extending birthday wishes to Braniff with a dazzling light display on their buildings. Several months of planning came together to make this truly remarkable blank screen. Even turning on of the downtown lights in honor of Braniff's 90th anniversary celebration.
Will it be on the news on one of the TV stations tonight?
Yeah, Channel 5, if you make it home in time for the news, will have it as their backdrop. So, and if you drive home through downtown, you're going to see the entire side of the Omni Hotel wishing Braniff happy 90th. There's
Which sign?
Pardon me?
Which sign?
Which sign?
Which side?
Oh, side, the Oak Cliff side, towards the freeway.
Okay.
Yep.
Go to Oak Cliff and turn around.
Yeah, you could, yeah. The hotel was very helpful during the planning process. It certainly turned the lights on for Braniff. What's strange is we can see tiny dots of imagery on the site, but we're going to try to keep bringing it up.
Is it up all night?
It's up until, I believe, 1 a.m. and then back on at 5 in the morning for tomorrow. I think yeah. Until sunup. So, you want to move on to I need the happy birthday reading. Sorry, folks. It was really a lot of effort to make that happen. All right, and to top off a perfect Braniff International evening, we've received a lot of birthday wishes that we'd like to share with you, and then we have one announcement after the video.
Braniff, we started with the old DC-3 at Love Field, And from there, we went to the Convair, the Super Connie, the DC-6, DC-7, and then the 707. What an upgrade. And then we had the 727-200s and the Electras and the BAC-111s. We've come a long way from childhood, and the sky's the limit for us.
Hey everybody, with Braniff International, I want to wish you a happy 90th on your legacy of the world's most colorful airline. For me personally, Braniff was my first airplane flight. It was a green 727. I was 10 years old, and I remember the hostess had the blue Pucci uniform and walked me up to my parents as an unaccompanied minor. And that actually spawned a 32-year career as a flight attendant myself, which I continue to enjoy to this day. So happy 90th on your legacy, and if you've got it, flaunt it.
On your birthday, is this the 90th? Almost as old as I am. On your 90th birthday, I continue to admire the company and the people. That's what made it special.
Happy birthday, Braniff. Thanks for the great memories.
Hey everybody, my name is Slater Hardy Lawrence. Unfortunately, I obviously could not be there today, but wanted to say hello and wish Braniff International Airways a very special and happy birthday, 90th birthday. I know my father and grandfather would be so delighted and happy just to see the Braniff tight-knit community coming together once again and celebrating this very special day. Thank you all and wishing you all the best. Wish I could be there.
Happy birthday, Braniff International.
Okay, so on behalf of everyone at Braniff Airways Foundation, I want to thank you for coming this evening. The foundation will be conducting a few additional events during October and November. Those are the 60th anniversary celebration of 7701 of 7701 Lemon Avenue. The date will be announced soon. It's going to be either October 4th or 7th. There will be a tour of Braniff Terminal 2W, Hangar 1, and the flight kitchen at DFW Airport that Docomomo is putting on. That's a national architecture firm or organization. That is going to be mid-October 2018, another date to be announced soon. There's a Braniff Art Walk in Johnson City, Texas, which is where we kind of have our first brick and mortar Braniff boutique, that's my Texan coming out. Annual Braniff Retirement Club Christmas Party is going to be on Sunday, December 9th, here at Frontiers of Flight Museum. So once again, thank you. Happy birthday, Braniff International. Everybody be safe driving home. And if you snap a picture of the Omni Hotel, send it to us, please. And you got it. Okay, good. Don't move. Those are really expensive.
Bag of tricks. This last part made the first part.
At least we know we got what we paid for.
No, we can't.
Okay. Drum roll. There you go. That was a good partnership, and thank them for doing that. There you go. It's going to cycle for several hours.
Oh, that's great. Wow. How fabulous.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you again, everybody. Have a safe ride home.